Okay, I'm here with John Kohler on Voice of the Box. First of all, John, thanks for taking some time.
Yeah, absolutely. Good to be here.
Tell me, what we do here at Voice of the Box, let me back up a little bit, is interview people that, of course, have behind-the-scenes jobs. You have what I would consider a rather unique job, and that is, actually, instead of me telling it, why don't you tell me and all my listeners what exactly you do for the NFL on game days?
Well, Matt, as you know, I'm a crafty veteran of the box.
I do know that.
And been here a while. So you and I both started together, actually, quite a while ago. Early 90s, I think. Don't want to date us here, but...
You just did.
We're a little older than many people probably think. I think we started out doing stats and now handing out stats, and now I work on the stats crew and actually enter all the key stats into the computer for the game, so that the NFL and fantasy football aficionados alike can see how their favorite players are doing.
So for those folks that are football fans, what you're doing is you're basically doing a running, not a commentary, but a running input of every single play of every single game.
Yeah, there's a program called NFL Jesus, and some people think it is Jesus that runs this, but it's a program that basically allows us to input every play, and so we input it in a certain way. The computer kind of calculates certain things, so we don't have to say, oh, it's a third down conversion and input that manually. It does that by itself automatically, and then it's able to convert that, sends it off to the NFL, and the NFL actually back in Hackensack, New Jersey, watches it every single play, flags us if we're wrong, and if we are, we change it, and then game books. We just finished the New England San Francisco game, so game books right now are being uploaded to the NFL, and so fantasy football, bonuses, rosters, lots of things are affected by these stats.
No pressure. So there's someone like you at work every Sunday at every NFL stadium. Do you all have to gather prior to the season back in New York, perhaps NFL offices, to get briefed on any rule changes or software changes? What does that entail?
Yeah, we've had an occasional trip back to Hackensack, let me tell you. There's a lot going on. But in general, we get like in May or June, we usually have our own little kind of group discussion, our own voluntary workout, and we come together, we talk about the changes. NFL Jesus usually changes certain things, so through the years they've changed things like spot of the catch. For us, back in the mid-90s, that was very important. We had Rice and Stokes and guys that would make a short catch and turn it into a long gain, so that was important for the Niners, so we kind of drove that change. So things like that are added every year, updated, and it's affected, the stats affect a lot of different things, and so we want to make sure we do it right. And there's a lot of rule changes that go into effect too, so make sure we do it right.
I want to kind of hit on something you mentioned earlier, that your fingers, your keystrokes into this system here could affect a half of a quarterback sack, which could relate to a $500,000 bonus. Did I hear that correctly?
Yeah, no pressure, right? But it's checked and triple checked and quadruple checked so many times that it's very, very difficult to make a mistake and let that carry all the way through. Now, what happens, if for anybody out there who plays fantasy football, they'll notice that the Tuesday after, sometimes stats change, and that's because Elias goes back and looks at the stats and the books that we send off and makes sure that they're accurate. There's been more than one occasion, even in my fantasy league, where things have changed because maybe a yard here or there puts a running back over 100 yards, and that mistake impacts a lot down the line. So what the finished product by Tuesday is usually hard and fast. Like that is the stat book, and it's correct.
I can imagine, I don't do your job, but I can imagine you have to be fast, accurate as you're watching the game, a little bit different than being on the couch at home. What gives you the most enjoyment about what you do?
Well, coming to the game every weekend is fantastic. I love that. You know that. That's awesome.
Right.
I think the biggest thing for me, I'm the son of a coach, so seeing the plays up top here from the press box and seeing plays develop and all that, we're able to add a nice layer, I think, onto what we do. So, if someone on the press crew doesn't really know what's happening, I'm usually able to add, I think, this is kind of what happened and progress through that. So, it's a good time.
Now, fun. 18 years in the NFL, if I'm not mistaken, if I do my math correctly. Yeah. Is that accurate? And you've had a few other roles, I'm sure. What are some of the other roles that you can, tell us about in summary that you've had that might be just, such, behind the curtain access? What else can you share with me?
Yeah, well, the best was interning during the Super Bowl year. I think you missed it by a year, but it was a tough.
Thanks for the mention.
It was that was really a highlight. And we just retired Steve Young's number here today, and I just remember during those years and being able to work with him and all the other great stars that were part of that team, Rice and John Taylor and Ricky Waters and Ken Norton, all those guys, and it was just such a fun moment being a part of the organization during that time. You and I kind of started out early handing out stats and all that and kind of progressed through, so those were really behind the scenes, but I think there are a couple moments in particular. One that really stuck with me was during the early 90s, and I think it was Montana's last game, and he was kind of apart from the team, and he wasn't playing. Steve Young had taken over. I think it was 1991, and we went down to the locker room down here, and he was standing outside just kind of by himself, and it was kind of the symbol that he was not really part of the team anymore. I got his autograph. I think I was 18 or 19 at the time, and that was really the last that we all saw of him. He got traded to the Chiefs the next game, and he was gone. So,
the other facet of what I like to do at Voice of the Box is really to, if there's any kids or college kids or kids that are out of college that want to break into the NFL. I mean, you've got a very unique role and a rather important role on NFL Sundays. What kind of advice or pearls of wisdom would you give someone that's, how do you get a job like that? How do you start to even look for a job like that?
Yeah, it really starts with a love of sports. So make sure you love it, because you're not going to get paid a lot, and you're going to really be working some long hours, but the final result is fantastic. You get to come to great games and see and meet a lot of great people. But the number one piece of advice I always give people when they're trying to break in the NFL is publish something. So write something, get published. I mean, it can be anything, anywhere. For me, it was in a statistician's book when I was 16, the Bill James Baseball Encyclopedia, and I had a couple of things that were published, and away we went. The PR department here really liked that. So try and be published somewhere, and I think that really helps you out. Helps your writing, too.
John Kohler, I appreciate you taking time on Voice of the Box.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, Matt.